We have questions flowing in from all locations, I think, but it would not be fair if we did not open up the first question to the floor. So we have just over quarter of an hour for some questions for our 5 fabulous panellists. Isabel or Claire can tell me, is there a roaming mic or do people just shout? Oh, there is. Okay. And if you wouldn't mind, if you're happy, just to let us know who you are when you ask the question, that would be lovely. But who would like to ask the first question? Lady here. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Emily. I really enjoyed that. All the speakers were great. Kamal hinted at it being difficult to hand over a business. And I just wanted to ask, how do you overcome issues with delegating in the early stages of the business?
You don't. You don't delegate in the early stages because you never think anybody else can do it like you. And that's a problem I think that every entrepreneur will face. I faced it, I'm sure those of you here will have faced it too. But the other thing is, you delegate when you find the right person to delegate to. You know when that person comes along, and then you do start to delegate. But I have actually now handed over about 4 years ago to a board of directors who run the business. So I have totally delegated. But it takes a lot of time.
I love this. The lady who says she's totally delegated still goes in 4 days a week and sits in an open plan office. I love that. Brilliant answer. There was a question. Yes, lady at the back. Thank you.
My name is Alex G, and my question is to Tati Devine. Where I failed in the past is having to get stuff produced abroad, and it's proven equally expensive and very difficult to gain quality control. Are there ways of getting British manufacturing done satisfactorily without it being extremely expensive? Because I found that the prices just couldn't be matched here, and I couldn't afford to get it British manufactured.
It depends what you're making to an extent, obviously. Yeah. It depends how much of it that you can do yourself or how much you're dependent on another person with the very expensive machine or the technology that can cast, or I'm presuming you're doing jewellery, I don't know why. But obviously it is expensive. I mean, and so much of it's just disappeared because nobody did use it.
Right.
We've got quite a few friends that have got handbag companies, and they managed to manufacture in London, actually, or Manchester.
But they're like a secret network of them, and like I've been to visit some of them because I had to go and collect some leather for something, and you go into these places and you're like, it looks all glamorous, then you open a door and it's got nothing written on it, and there's a crazy handbag factory in there full of a million kinds of leather and loads of people all working, and they haven't got a website. Nobody they're all too busy making handbags.
The best thing you can do is get in touch with UKFT, who they have lists of suppliers of British manufacturing, and they're actually really pushing that at the moment. UK Fashion and Textile, and they're based just by Russell Square, and they'll be incredibly helpful in trying to put you in touch with the kind of people you want to find.
Fantastic, thank you. Just a quick thing on that, which I don't know if you've come across. There's a fashion accelerator called Fashion Angel, which has started, which is helping accelerate fashion businesses, so it might just be worth having a look at that as well. Was there a question on the front row that I just saw then? Yes, please. Sorry. Actually, whilst this man is running down here then, very athletically, can I just go to a quick question, which I'm going to pose to Sophie, actually. She may not like me for posing this one to her. What is your number one strategy for juggling being a mum who is involved in her kids' lives and being a successful businesswoman? And I say this to the Stylist Business Ambassador of the Year. And this comes from Angela Richmond Fuller.
My number one strategy for juggling. I think you've got to have your partner fully on board, and that's not persuading him or her that he needs to humour you and this is a great idea. He has to share in the vision. He's got to believe in that future, and I'm very fortunate that I'm in that position. And I think the other, I could give you a million things, but try not to generalise too much. I think my number one strategy is you have to make your peace with it. You're not going to get it right all the time at all, and you know, there's no prize for getting it right, and nor are we here to right the wrongs of previous generations. It's our families, our situation, our business, and as long as you're sort of decent, considerate human being, you will probably get the balance right in some way or other that works for you.
Wonderful. This is really where I want to turn to your husband's football team and see what their response is at this point. Okay, lady patiently
Hi
waiting.
there. My name's Donna. Question for Sophie. I thought Christina made a really good point about sales and your staff being part of the marketing mix. And I kind of wondered how you manage that with 2,500 resellers, and how do you make sure that they're all on brand and delivering the same principles to their customers, to your customers?
Yes, well, we're very conscious that they are 2,500 different brands, and that's really, really important. And they are brands that are selling under our umbrella, and so that's actually protecting and nurturing their brand and their business is what we are all about. So we certainly don't want to, but what we do is take it incredibly seriously that the customer should have a good and uniform experience. So that's one of the reasons why we are so stringent about who we actually accept to sell with us. So that's the 10, 12, 15% that accept to sell with us. And then we go to enormous lengths to make sure that we're managing every step of the process. We communicate frequently and endlessly with our sellers to make sure that they are kind of fully on board and buying into the way that we believe is the right way to serve our customer. And then on a practical level, we have an order management system, for instance, whereby we can know exactly if a sale's been taken, has it been responded to, has it been dispatched. So we've got our arms around the whole experience all the time. But I'd say the number one is the initial selection in the first place, that we're really, really working with businesses that care in the same way as we do.
Choose good people, good businesses. I'm going to come to you, but I'm not being sexist. It would be really good to have a question from a bloke. So come on, there's a fair few of you out there in the audience. And whilst a bloke is thinking of his question, can we come back down to the front row? Because that didn't really go down very well, did it? So this lovely lady down here, sorry, whoever can get her, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, all of you, for all your inspiring talks. My question is for no one in particular, but I'm stuck at the moment between progress and protection. And I actually had a breakfast this morning where James Caan was speaking, and I asked him the same question, and he actually said to me, "You're actually wasting your time worrying about protection. You should just go out there and get on with it." But then I went back to him and I said, "I'm sorry, your answer wasn't satisfactory because, you know..."
Did he give you a job?
No, he didn't. But I did get his card. The thing is, and this sort of applies to Tati Divine, to even, the food business, website business, everything. When you have an idea and you know there are people out there who, if they got word of it, could do it in a flash second and could outpace you and do you very quickly. And I guess that's my question, because I'm completely stuck. So any advice that you could offer would be very helpful.
Okay, Christina, yeah?
A whole panel, sort of. I'm actually in a similar situation. So I'm working on a separate startup that's linked to this one. And I've encountered a technology company that could reskin their platform and redo the thing. So I really, really feel for you. And yeah, it's an emotional battle because you're forever going around in circles going, well, I can't tell them that because it's really, really difficult. Inevitably, do try and get legal advice. I know it costs money, but get an NDA in place. The one thing I will say about an NDA is it is only a piece of paper and it is based on a relationship. So whoever you release that equity or information to, make sure you've got a really good relationship with them, build a relationship, understand what their motives would be. So hopefully that's two concrete things that you can do to try and build a relationship with people and then protect yourself with an NDA. The only other thing I would say is I agree with James Caan to a certain extent. Look at another person's motives. Like, would they really want to copy it? Would they have the expertise in the area to copy it? And would they have the motivation to copy it? Because generally people only want to execute their own ideas.
Yeah,
as a
that's
general
very
rule.
true. But the thing with the NDA is, the minute I said to him, I'm going to go see an IP lawyer, blah, 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 he was like, oh, don't waste your time with that, because then there'll be someone else going to another lawyer who'll tell him how to undo your patent. So, I mean, but thank you. That is definitely helpful.
Trademark.
You do that. No, all I was going to say is similarly, when you were having breakfast with James Caan this morning, I heard a presentation delivered by a guy called Daniel Priestley who said ideas don't mean anything. The implementation is what counts.
I think it's tragic if you don't do what you want to do because you're afraid of copying. I mean, if that was the case, we wouldn't have ever made any jewellery at all.
I think the point you need to sort of remember two or three things. Legal protection, definitely. Get the I don't know whether you need a patent or a trademark or what, but do get that advice. It's really, really worth it. And all the other suite of IP that you can use and legal protection. The second is, what else are you going to do? Not you're going to tell your customers about it eventually. You're going to have to get out there and do it, and it's to an extent it's a risk you take. There's also an element of that competition is a great thing because it means that there's a market out there. It means that you're not imagining this. That it's a great kind of validation that you're onto a good thing. And so yes, I just think you have to, a lot of people could have an idea. To get on with it and get it out is a very, very, very different story. And have you got that in you or not is the question any business person has to ask themselves. And the last thing I would say is, which again Christina has touched on, really, you're always launching a brand. You're not launching a product or a piece of technology. You are launching a brand, and you need to make sure you've got your brand right, and that is powerful and compelling and unique, and that you understand exactly what it is that your product or service is to the customer in order to make it truly valuable, regardless of whether somebody could do something similar. Samosas. It's so much more about what's behind it and why you're doing it and who you're targeting to.
And dare I say, by virtue of where we are, talk to the IP Centre.
Yeah.
So it's yes, as our host. Okay, lovely. Now I have to say, we've had a man. Okay, now I don't know if this is not a make-believe man because his name. Actually, he's going to go mad now if he's for real. His name is Jim Bang, spelt B-A-N-G-G. That's somebody taking the mickey, isn't it? Anyway, if you're real, Jim Bang, we're going to go on to your question, which is a question. This is why I'm really glad he's not in the audience because he'd bang me in the face right now. Jim Bang has a question to Rosie and Harriet, which is rather lovely, which is, do either of you still paint?
No. No, I haven't got time. I'm too busy making jewellery.
I never painted at all, anyway.
Well, there we go,
I
Jim.
just had a little while during college. I used to sit and do jigsaws. That was my work. But no, I think a lot of I channel a lot of that into what I do now. I still ask myself the same aesthetic questions as I did when I was at college, or maybe slightly more challenging ones, or different, obviously. And I still think that I lend my ear, as it were, to a certain amount of artisticness that is happening around town. Still interested, but no, it's just a time thing really for me.
You go through the same processes, just slightly different results.
Yeah.
Good. So artistic in tendency. Wonderful. Oh, sir, thank you. Thank you. The gentleman towards the back.
Hello. Well, at least we know I exist. My name is Alex Terry. I run a business, or largely run by my wife, Naomi, Best of Suffolk Marketing Holiday Cottages. We are up and running, we are established. The problem we've got is setting goals. How do you know when enough's enough? People say, well, where's this all leading? What's happening in 5 years? And that's where we've come across a challenge. We don't know what's enough, when to stop, where it's all going. I think that's a challenge you all much sort of larger than we are, that you may have come across. And I just appreciate your thoughts on that.
Okay, where are you going to be going? I think obviously you need the strategy, and I think I would have a short-term and a longer-term strategy, but it's all to do also with what passion you have for growing and how big you want to grow yourself. I mean, for me, I could have stayed in that 900 square foot site and carried on day to day, but my ambition was too great, and in the end I couldn't stop it from growing the way it did. So it's very much down to you and how much you want to grow your business.
Does that help? Do you want to comment on that, Sophie?
I would be. I think I had a slightly different experience of that. I think with our business, we knew it had to be very big to be. It needed to be big. Small wasn't going to work for us. So we had immediately. We knew we had to be big. That decision was already made, and so we've been very, very focused about setting goals every year, every month. We have a daily goal, a weekly goal, a monthly goal. Annual goals. We spend probably 2 months a year working on our goals for the following year, and we devote a huge amount of time to just thinking about where are we going this year, next year, the next year. We write it all down. We think about, if we're going to do this, how are we going to get there? It seems insane to set a target of X, but break it down. Is it possible? If it is, then double it. You know, you just keep on raising the bar. But I think it's all about thinking exactly what that goal is and how you're going to get to it, and not being afraid to set targets that seem unrealistic.
Okay, in terms of where we're going slightly into injury time, but so I think we're going to have to make this our final question to the lady here.
Hi, this is really interesting. Thank you very much. This is a bit of an odd question to ask with a microphone in my hand. But I find it really difficult to speak to people because I am creative and like being in my room, a bit like Harriet and Rosie, you know, planning ideas in my head of having a lovely shop and doing creative things. And I've got people who like doing what I'm doing, which is brilliant, and media and all, that's fabulous. But the whole idea of networking makes me crap myself. I just want to, you know, not literally, but the idea of after this, everyone network with each other, that sounds brilliant. All I want to do is hide in the toilet or go home. And I think there's a lot to do with, you know, collaborations and talking to each other and getting skills off each other. But if you're really nervous to actually speak to people, does that mean you're
it
not
sounds
gonna be
like
successful?
it, yeah. Sorry, so the question
So
was...
if you're really nervous
Yeah.
to speak to people, can you still be successful? And how do you overcome that barrier of pitching yourself? And even if you believe in, you know, truly believe in what you're doing and you want to make the world a better place and have your thing in the world, how do you do that?
How do you get out of that? Now, I'm actually going to ask each of the panellists to go and give their own version of that from here to here, but to give them a moment to think about what their one piece of advice would be to you. I want you to stand up, because you're quite a discernible person. Stand up, because you can really see this girl, because check out those tattoos on your arm. Stand up. So when we get into networking, turn around so everyone at the back can see you. When we get into networking, everyone has got to go and speak to her. I mean this. Everyone has got to go and say hello to you, because we all know that otherwise you're going to be hiding in that toilet. So everyone speak to this young lady who is called... Sarah. So very shy Sarah. Everybody has to say hello to her. And in the meantime, Christina, your one piece of advice for Sarah.
I guess the most important piece for me is just to be yourself. You're really charismatic, so just be yourself. Stop trying to think, I've got to find something else really interesting to say. Just ask the other person a question and then let it come out of you, because you're really charismatic, so just let your personality come out.
Well, oh gosh. I mean, it's hard because we're in a partnership, which has really helped because we've both, as we said, have got different skills. But I think having someone to share your ideas with will give you the strength to go out and share them with others, whether it's a friend or the local business centre or an aunt or whoever it is, just somebody you can... The minute it's out of your mouth, the minute it becomes real and it becomes a real thing you can say and spread. So
I would also say that what about Twitter or general? It's much easier to do it online because you can think about it and check the spelling, or before you send, you click send. It's a whole different world of being able to do social networking now to how it is to have to do it in a room full of people and how to swiftly move from one person to the next or however you do it. You know, but it can be much more focused. And kind of people that you probably want to network with, you probably will really like.
I think get your idea going, whatever you're going to do, and then once you've got a successful idea going, people want to come and talk to you anyway, so that wouldn't be a problem. I have spent 26 years running this business. This is the first time I've come out to talk to an audience.
Wow. Yep. Follow that, Sophie.
All I can say to you is very much from the heart. I just do not beat yourself up about it. Networking works for some people, and it doesn't. It's not the be all and end all. It doesn't. Maybe it's just not right for you, and it's not going to be something that you need to do. So I think I think you need to separate feeling really comfortable about talking out about your business. Know your business inside out. You've got to be in love with your business, and you've got to know it so well that anything anybody asks you, you've already thought about it and you've already thought that through, or you're dying to find out what the answer is. That's one thing. You don't have to do any networking at all in order to do that. And I think although that networking is a great thing, and I think in its place with the right objective in mind, and you do need an objective in mind when you're networking, it's great. I think we need to kind of slightly come out of the closet a bit and say, it's not the only way to do business. There are many, many different ways to do business, and you need to find that what works for you. Play to your strengths. Absolutely play to your strengths.
Wonderful, and lots of advice from everyone. Do you know, I just hate the word networking. So it's kind of, so I won't say we're now moving into networking. We're now moving into free wine, thanks British Library. That's why I'm staying. And good chatter about all the businesses that we are either running or looking to run. But ladies and gentlemen, I am sure you will join me. I did not know this was the first time Kamal had come out in 26 years. I am sure you will agree with me. She hardly seemed to be the novice this evening. But what an absolute show of entrepreneurial women who talked about branding, marketing, customer service, everything under one small business owner's roof. So ladies and gentlemen, please for the final time join me in thanking our panellists, Christina, Rosie, Harriet, Kamal and Sophie.